and then we can get cracking.
All good.
Wonderful. Okay, right. So, welcome to second part, really. Yeah, I mean, it works as a standalone training anyway, but second part of the Try Webinar Success series, where we're exploring success and helping to reconnect with you with what success means to you, and show you what it is that you need to do to become successful. So this webinar is entitled Chimp You, Why You Are Wired to Be Average. I don't know if any of you have ever felt that you know, you've got all these hopes and dreams, but then the years just go by and, you know, stuff just doesn't happen. Or maybe at school you thought, you know, if you were like me, I was on the school uni millionaire plan, which I was pretty convinced would work. Millionaire by 30, did not work. And so like that left me with so many questions. So what is it that holds us back, and why do we end up with the lives that we have? How come when you look at some people, they seem to have it all, and they have the money, which is not everything at all, but they have the money, they have the car, and they have the career. Like, why have they got it and we haven't? Like, and it's a question that sort of I've spent, I think I would say 14 years, 12, 13 years trying to answer. So we're going to go through a lot of that today. But just to remind you, some rules of engagement. Start by keeping an open mind, please. You know, if we have the same thinking, we can't learn anything new. If our cup's already full, then there's no space for new learnings. Please participate. The only failure is the failure to participate. So put in everything you can. And finally, if there's anything that barks or meows or cries, chuck it under the stairs. If it beeps or buzzes, please turn it off or put it in another room, and just give yourself the gift of being 100% present. So today's going to be in two parts, really. And really I want you to, it's going to be about helping to understand the chimp you, which is the primitive side of you. I'll explain more about that as we go, but it's the primitive side of you that drives so much of your behavior, and we don't realize it drives our behavior, but it's really what is at the core of our behavior. A lot of this we've only learned in the last 15 years, and now we have the benefit of hindsight, so we can look back at people that have become successful in the past, and we can look at them and study them and go, well, what is it about them that made them so successful? And that's a lot of what we're going to be sharing today. So two parts are, why do you currently have the life you currently have? Right? Why is your life the way it is? While some others, people's lives, I mean, like, there are people out there who are my age who are billionaires. Again, it's not about the money, but why they're not me, you know? And why other people are not you? So why do we have the life that we currently have? And secondly, the second part we're going to, what stops you from living your ideal life? So those are the two parts we're going to cover today. So let's get cracking. Right, so we're going to start with some interaction. Please type in the chat box, what is it that makes people successful? What do you think it is? Let's get some suggestions here. So please type in the chat box. Like I said, we're going to be interactive. If you're listening to a recording of this, please think through these answers, engage your brain, because we want you to walk away from this with some change, and that can only happen if you engage your brain. So what is it that makes people successful? Type in the chat box, what is it that makes people successful? Why them, not you? So what are some of the common beliefs? Dan, what are some of the beliefs that you maybe in the past used to have as well? What is it that you used to think made people successful?
I mean, beliefs that I used to have in the past, I would probably have to say things such as, well, even now I'd say probably focus, determination, commitment. These are the first things that I would think off the top of my head that make people successful. I've got a couple of people coming in. I've got Karen coming in saying, knowing they know what they want, commitment, focus. Fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree with that, Karen. Margaret, determined, committed in getting what they want. Fantastic. I've got Paul coming in saying focus as well. James, determination, absolutely. I think we get that, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So let's dig into a little bit more detailing, because I think those are really good, but there's also some other answers that perhaps we can find. So what is it that gets people the life they want? So let's start by thinking of the results, right? So if we see the life that you have is the result of something, right? What is it that gives us the life we have today? That might sound like a little bit of a cryptic question, but type in the chat box, what is it that gives us the life we have today? So type in the chat box, what is it that gives us the life we have today? How have we ended up with what we have, with what you have, what I have, with what Dan has, with what other people have? How have we ended up with? How did we get to that result? And so the way that we get to the result that we have and the life that we have is through our actions, right? Now this might seem quite simple, but stick with me, all right? So whatever we do, the actions that we take give us the outcome, give us the results, give us the life we want, okay? So now if that's true and the things that we do give us the result we want, like an action, for example, of going to the gym 3 times a week gives us the result of health, sort of, you know what I mean? The action of working hard may give us success in our job, right? So those are actions. The action of taking your spouse out for a date every week as a habit can result in a great marriage, right? So our actions create our results, but what is it that creates our actions? So please type in the chat box, what is it that creates our actions? Because we've got to go deeper. We've got to go deeper and deeper and deeper to start understanding what it is that ultimately creates our results in life. So actions, but how do we get our actions? So type in the chat box. I can see we've had Margaret, I believe, has nailed it. Okay, a couple more of you. Oh, okay. So the thing that gets our actions going, we've had positive attitude, we've got desires, goals, choices. So really it comes from decisions that we make, right? There has to be a decision before an action, right? And there's really 3 types of decisions, right? We can choose to do something. We can choose not to do something, right? That's still a choice, i.e. staying the same is still a choice. And we get to choose how we react to what happens to us. So again, let's keep going deeper, let's keep digging. If the decisions we make lead to our actions and the actions we make lead to our life, then what is it that leads to our decisions? What is it that leads to our decisions? Type in the chat box. What is it that leads to our decisions? Decisions got to come from somewhere, right? Okay, good, good. A few more. We won't read them out just yet. We've got some good ones. We've got some people who may have seen this before, some people who are nailing it, some people who are coming up with some really good suggestions. So please type in the chat box. Good. And I'm going to go probably with Steve's one, actually. Steve says thoughts and opinions. So the way I look at it is this. It's the questions that we ask that lead to our decisions. Okay, it's the questions that we ask of ourselves and of the world that lead to our decisions. So if I ask the question, if I ask the question, how can I create a career that makes me £25,000 a year? That's a question, right? Off the back of that question, I'm going to make some decisions about what my options are, right? And then I'm going to take action, and the action is hopefully going to lead to the result, which will be £25,000 a year job, right, or career. So where do the questions come from? Where do the questions come from? And I think Jill already nailed this, so well done, Jill. But underneath all of this is your beliefs. Okay, so it's your belief system. Okay, I'm going to go more into this in a second. It's your belief system that leads to the questions, that leads to decisions, actions, results. So I know this is a terrible example. It might annoy people, but I'm going to use Trump as an example because he's obviously so relevant right now, because if he can achieve what he's, in brackets, achieving, then surely we all have hope, right? If somebody completely unqualified can become president, then, you know, there's hope for all of us. But his belief around money is billionaire, right? So he would never ask the question, how do I get a job of £25,000 a year? I mean, imagine if your beliefs led to you asking a question of how could I build a business that could make a passive income of £1 million a year in the future? What would need to be under that question? And it would need to be incredibly strong beliefs. Okay, so let's dig into that a little bit more. Stick with me. It might seem a little bit woo-woo, but I'm going to try and qualify what I mean by all of this. Okay, so most of us don't know this, but we have a filing cabinet of beliefs in the back of our brain. Okay, now the reason you may not be aware of this is these called implicit beliefs. So the two types of beliefs, there's implicit beliefs, there's explicit beliefs. Explicit beliefs are things that we can say externally out loud, like R. Kelly said, I believe, that's a belief, I believe I can fly, or I believe in a thing called love, or as Dan's favorite diva once said, Whitney, I believe the children are the future. So we can make statements which are beliefs that are external, which we call explicit beliefs. Now, implicit beliefs can be great, but they can also be dangerous. Implicit beliefs are the beliefs that we don't realize we have. Remember back to being a baby. When you were a baby, you didn't believe anything. You didn't know anything, and you know, you didn't even know how to go to the toilet, right? You couldn't do anything. You had no beliefs. And so like a sponge, you were open to the world, and over time, you built a belief system. Now, you didn't choose those beliefs. The beliefs came from the environment around you. It came from your experiences. It came from your peers. So, yeah, I don't want to get into religion here, but if you grew up in Catholic society, chances are you're more likely to believe in Catholicism. If you grew up in Islamic society, the chances are that's going to be your belief. Same with Buddhist and all the rest. Now, religion's an obvious one, but perhaps what we don't realize in our implicit beliefs is that we have a filing cabinet for everything. So we have a filing cabinet about relationships. Have you ever met somebody who had a completely different idea of what they thought a relationship or a marriage or a friendship or how to be a brother? They had a completely different idea as to what it was to you, and it's purely because their experience, the environment they grew up in, was completely different to yours. So if we understand that, you know, and sorry, one thing that I find scary is that a lot of our beliefs also come from TV. You see, the filter system in our brain doesn't always understand the difference between reality and fiction, which is why you can watch a scary movie, even though the modern part of your brain, the frontal lobes, even knows that it's fiction, it's not real, it can still scare you. Right? So just like if you watch EastEnders all the time and all you see is abusive relationships and people shouting, that goes into your relationship file. That's not to say that's necessarily how you're going to play it out, but that goes into your belief file when it comes to relationships. So when we put together all these filing systems, all these filing cabinets of different beliefs of every area in your life, we end up with what's called our blueprint, or our map of our own reality. You know, this is the way that I think the world works, this is the way that I believe everything works, and then we play out our beliefs. And now that can be great if you've got a filing system of implicit beliefs that really help you and support you, but what if some of those beliefs are negative? You know, what's the outcome that comes from that? So because we're talking about success here, I'm just going to pick two of these filing cabinets, right? Because we're talking about success, and there's two major areas which, when we look at your belief system, are going to completely dictate how successful you're going to be in life, all right? So before we do that, we're going to quickly do a little test of some beliefs, all right? So this is going to be, we're going to do like a little mental inventory of some of your beliefs. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some brain surgery. We're going to look into your brain, and we're going to try and find those implicit beliefs that you may not be aware of. So it's just a little game. There are no right or wrong answers to this at all. I'm going to read out 10 statements, okay? And as I read out these 10 statements, I would like you to go with your gut. I would like you to answer quickly. Don't filter the answer. Don't put down the answer that you think might make you look the best. You know, there's no right or wrong here. This is just a mental inventory of some of your implicit beliefs. And we're going to use the example of money on this one. So let's see what some of your beliefs around money are. And then what's going to be interesting is for you to know, to see what your beliefs are, but also how they compare to others. We're going to do this anonymously, but you'll see that not everybody has the same beliefs as you have, obviously, because you all grew up in different environments with different influences. So I'm going to read out a question, and I want you to type in the chat box a number between 1 to 10, including 1 and 10. Use the whole range. Go with your gut, go quickly. If you completely disagree, it's a 1. And if you completely agree, it's going to be a 10. So here's an example. If I were to say, striving for wealth won't allow much time for anything else in my life, do you agree with that or you disagree with that? So if you disagree with that, you'd write a 1, and if you agree with it, you'd write a 10. So are we ready? We'll go quick fire. Here's the mental inventory. Right. Money isn't really that important. Chuck your number in the thing. Okay, cool. It's not right to make a lot more money than my parents. Most of the good opportunities are gone. I'm too young to get rich. I'm too old to get rich. If success comes easy, it's not as worthwhile. I don't enjoy taking on responsibility. I'm not a strong leader. Okay, last 2. By being rich, I'll prove myself. Cool. Last one, getting rich is not really a skill you can learn. Okay. Very good. All right, so Dan, if you could, keeping it anonymous, but can you give us a sort of a range of some of the answers, not for specific questions, but what sort of ranges did we get? Did we get both extremes? But
Absolutely.
What were the beliefs in there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very interesting being able to see, not against any person's name, but just the extremes of them. So we've had all agreeing on one side with ones, and then other people coming in with complete 10s, completely opposites, which is great. Demonstrates where, as you said earlier, Blake, people having completely different beliefs, and that's very well demonstrated. Sorry, by the numbers that we've got in here. So yeah, hitting the extremes with the numbers on individual questions.
Yeah, I can see first question somebody said a 10 and somebody else said a 1 and somebody else said a 6. Somebody said a 1, somebody said a 5. So like we all have a different belief system. Like these questions are designed that, you know, to show what your implicit beliefs are. But basically and simply speaking, if you rated 5 or above, higher, as in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, to any of those, it means that there's a slight block, right? So for example, if your belief is 10 out of 10 that money isn't really that important, then how is that going to impact your questions, your decisions, your actions for your life? If you say, you know, imagine you said to a spouse of yours, you're not really that important. How long would they stay around? It's the same with money. If you believe you're too young to get rich or you're too old to get rich, how is that going to show up in the questions that you ask and the decisions you make and ultimately the life that you lead? So hopefully that was a good little exercise just with 10 quick questions to help you see that there might be a little bit underneath the bonnet, you know, deep in the filing cabinet that's actually holding you back. It's not strategy it's holding you back, it's some limiting beliefs. So let's look a bit deeper into that. The two areas which are really going to help your success in life are these two of the filing cabinets that I've chosen. You have in the back of your head beliefs about what success is. You absolutely do. You know, they may be implicit, you may not realize them, but you've got beliefs about success. And you've also got beliefs about yourself. Okay, so these two areas are hugely important. So let's first look into beliefs about success. So what do you believe? Okay, so let's look on the left. Let's look at somebody who believes that, imagine this, right? Imagine that you believe successful people are lucky. You're either born talented or not. There's just something special about them. You know, people on TV. Well, you need intelligence to be rich. That's just not me. You know, Roger Federer, for example, he was just born talented. He was born with a racket in his hand. And, you know, it takes the right idea to be successful. What about believing that, you know, successful people are just selfish? You know, to be successful, you just have to walk all over people. You know, you've got to backstab. You've got to be brutal. You know, you've got to leave like a destruction in your wake if you really want to get successful. I mean, that's the truth to success, right? So imagine your filing cabinet contained these files on the left. How could you possibly become successful with those beliefs? So now look on the right. Look at the mindset of somebody successful. Their belief system in their filing cabinet about success says, the more I learn, the luckier I get. You know, talent is learned. It's not inborn. Like, I can improve my talent. Like, I just need to practice, right? I can learn any skill. Like, if somebody beforehand has learned it, well, then I just copy the way they learn it and I'll go and learn it. It's not that somebody else who plays the piano is just talented. They play the piano because they learned to play the piano. And if I practice, I could learn any skill. And I need to focus on me so I can become valuable to attract that sort of wealth. What about the belief that it takes 10,000 hours to become world-class at anything? I'll come on to that again in a minute, but, you know, current philosophy is that, you know, talent doesn't really mean anything. Nobody can actually explain what talent is, or it means very little. They say talent, oh, you can develop it. But no, when Roger Federer first picked up a tennis racket, he couldn't hit a ball because he was a child, right? He didn't suddenly hit great forehands. He had to learn. And to become world-class, he had to put in 10,000 hours of practice, but focused practice. That's now the standard for the industry. That's now, you know, what we've learned from psychotherapy, that people believe that if you track back and you look at what successful people did to get where they were, 10,000 hours. That includes Mozart, that includes Beethoven. You know, people say Mozart was composing at the age of 4. Well, it's true, but he was rubbish. The first time he composed something that was decent, he was 21. Bearing in mind his sister was a professional musician and his father was a conductor for an orchestra, you might understand the environment and the, 17 years and 10,000 hours it took to get him to become any good. And again, another belief there, it takes patience and persistence, and successful people serve others. So which filing cabinet would you prefer to have in your head? So I just want to try this. Pick something from the left. Pick something from the left that speaks to you, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to sense check it, right? So think of one belief about success that you hold, that you have, that you feel is probably quite limiting. And what I want you to do is I want you to run it through this. Okay. So let's take one belief as an example. So let's take the belief that it takes luck to become successful. Successful people are just lucky. Rich people, just lucky. Well, if that's my belief, what question am I going to ask? Am I going to ask a question based around how can I become brilliant at something? How can I practice? How can I persist? Or if my belief is just about luck, I'm just going to ask the question, well, how can I get lucky? My decision, play the lottery. Action, go and buy a lottery ticket. Result, not pretty good. So how does that play out for you? Type in the chat box, as you put a belief through this system, what's the outcome that you're going to get from that belief? Type in the chat box for us. Let's see what comes out. If you take a negative belief that you used to have or you don't want to hold on to anymore, if you run it through this, if this is my belief, what question will it lead me to? What decision will that question lead me to? Then what action will that decision make for me? And what will that put in my life? Okay, so likewise, if that's how our filing cabinet for success works, what about beliefs about yourself? Oh, this is a huge one. So imagine this, down the left you go, I'm not talented enough. I don't know what my passion is. I don't want to stand out. I'm not good enough. I must be perfect. It takes the right idea to be successful. And I have a fixed mindset. You know, I'm sure you can see by now that if these are the beliefs that are sitting at a core level, then how can we possibly create success in our lives? And, you know, for me, you know, I just have this belief that the school system didn't prepare us, and so much of it comes down to this. To me, the purposes of a school system should be about creating a belief system for kids, you know, for young adults by the time they're 16, 18, a belief system about themselves, about success, about the world, that enables them to ask the right questions and ultimately get the results they want in life. So look on the right. Think of this if you had beliefs about this about yourself. The more I learn, the luckier I get. Talent is learned. You know, if you believe talent is inbuilt and you believe that you can only be successful in if you're talented, and you also believe that you're not talented, then your head just can't look for success because its belief system won't allow. It's incongruent with the outcome you want. So I can learn any skill, I can figure anything out, I am resourceful, I have a growth mindset, which means, you know, I believe that if I practice anything long enough, 10,000 hours, I can be world class at anything. You know, I learned this, you know, I was starting to learn this several years back, and, you know, I just decided to then go, well, if it's not about talent and I can actually learn to be good at something, then what if I read a book every week about psychology and success? What if I just read book after book after book after book and learned and learned and learned, it became more valuable, you know, and that's what I feel like has, you know, helped me enormously over the years. So again, take a belief on the left, or a belief you feel you have about yourself, a limiting belief, and let's test it through the system. So, if you have a limiting belief about yourself, how does that play out in your life? Type it in the chat box for us. We won't read it out. We'll keep it anonymous. But if you have a belief that you're not good enough, how can you possibly get the life you truly want? If you have a belief you're not talented, if you have a belief that you're not passionate about anything, then how can you get the outcome you truly want? And so it's so important that it's the beliefs that we work on. We have to educate ourselves on our beliefs. Okay, great. We've got a few coming in. But we won't read them out. Those are your thoughts. Okay, so that's how beliefs impact. And I'm going to leave you with, on this topic, 2 books which, you know, if you're thinking, well, yeah, all well and good, but what do you mean? How do I just change a belief? And it starts by awareness. And these 2 books show you how people actually become successful. By reading these books, this gave me a whole new set of beliefs about what it was that successful people did. I started to realize that it's got so little to do with talent, quote unquote, because what the hell is talent, right? And everybody that has made it, that you see on TV, you see in the Olympics, or like proper successful TV, people on TV, not sort of Big Brother type people, truly successful people, there's no shortcut. They just spent 10,000 hours developing their craft. So these 2 books will truly, truly help you.
Blake, are you saying that the Kardashians, they're not worthy?
No, absolutely not. They are worthy. I know a big favour of yours. She's a class of her own.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, cool. So look, type in the chat box, what's been most valuable so far? Dan, perhaps you can start, Dan, on your journey, you know, of personal development over the last several years. Like, I know your beliefs have changed over time. What are some of the things that, you know, you found valuable when it comes to looking at beliefs, or from what we just went through?
That's a good question. I think it's just been about recognizing that that these beliefs that were passed on to us by, as you say, family, environment, the society that we were born into, and that they can be changed. And the effect of those beliefs, the one that I've sort of massively changed in my life over the past year would be belief on food, and understanding that and how that affects us when we're bombarded by information on TV with regards to what's good for us and what we should and shouldn't be eating. And by educating myself, I've changed my beliefs, and I've managed to implement that into my life, change those questions, change those habits, change the actions, and that's given me a better result.
Yes.
That's something for me. Yeah, absolutely. So that would be my biggest takeaway, or my biggest thing that I've managed to implement. And yeah, from a diet, nutrition, definitely.
Cool. And by the way, like on that, from food, there are people out there who believe that there's nothing wrong with McDonald's, right? That's their belief. That is the belief that the marketing department from McDonald's fights so hard to input into you. You know, when you watch a McDonald's ad, what do you see? People having fun. Oh my God, different generations having a whale of a time. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Repetition, 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 repetition. And so in our filing system, when we go back and we go, well, how do we feel about McDonald's? We go and open the filing cabinet and we look and we go, there's some pretty positive stuff in there. And there's a lot of stuff in here. And when we have a lot of information, we tend to trust it. And we go, oh, okay, well, actually, no, I think McDonald's is all right. Burger King, yeah, fine, no problem. And that is an absolutely calculated way that the marketing departments work to try and input those implicit beliefs into you. Anyway, I won't go down that road because I'll get angry. Olympics being sponsored by McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Cadbury's chocolate. Why do you think they spend millions and millions and millions to associate themselves with something that is the peak of health and fitness? And like, it's just, it should be illegal. But anyway, Dan, do you want to read out a couple of things from the guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So Steve's come in with a good one there. The need to challenge some beliefs. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Definitely got to challenge some of these beliefs. Let go of how it should be and embrace how it is, but to be able to affect my beliefs for the better. Thank you, Charlie. Knowing that we have the control to change the outcomes. Fantastic, Jill. Thank you. I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Realizing I have so many limiting beliefs, but that I can relearn and challenge them if I choose to. Again, fantastic.
Do you choose to? That I can relearn and change them if I choose to. You choosing to?
Yes, you can. She's already answered yes with absolutely. Yes, you can.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Good stuff.
All right, let's move on. All right, good. So hopefully that shows you that beliefs are at the core of everything we do, all our action. So we're going to go on to the second part now, which is actually slightly different topic, but so related. What stops you from living your ideal life? So okay, let's say we've got this belief system, and maybe we look at changing that, and we find a belief system that supports us. So we're using our frontal lobes of our brain at this time. We go, yeah, okay, let's create some hopes and dreams. Yeah, do you know what? Maybe I can achieve this. Maybe I can achieve that. So what is it that then stops us from achieving that? And quite simply, you are not designed for success. End of webinar. There we go, motivation for you. No, you are not designed for success. And there's a really good reason for that. I'm not saying you can't be successful, but you just got to understand the rules that go into being successful and how to go about doing that. So why are you not designed for success? I'm going to try my best to sound a little bit smart now and talk about psychology, but really I want to talk about a brief history between the ears. I want to talk about your brain, the thing in between your ears, and we have to understand that our brain has developed over a very long period of time. We started with the chimp brain or the caveman brain, and over time the brain has developed, and it's the frontal part of the brain, the human part, which sets us apart from any other animal. Now you think any other animals, what are they interested in? They bit of social stuff, sure, but eat, sleep, be safe. Eat, sleep, be safe, survive, safe. Survival, safety, safety, survival. You've got to remember that the big old part of our brain that I like to think of as those big old printing presses, like in Catch Me If You Can, the film, like this big, slow-moving, heavy machine. That's what the old part of our brain is like. It's not like the supercomputer fast stuff that the frontal part of our brain uses. The problem with the chimp brain is that it's not particularly relevant in modern society. See, the chimp brain has got some major functions, right? Your chimp wants to keep you safe. It is not interested in success. Doesn't care. It is not designed to keep you safe, to give you success. It's the opposite. It wants to keep you safe. That includes feeding you, having shelter, and it will allow you short-term happiness. So type in the chat box, with you knowing about what a chimp wants. Chimp sees a donut. What does the chimp want to do? Type in the chat box. And then type in the chat box, human sees a donut. With the new knowledge that we have nowadays, you're trying to lose weight or you're looking to lose weight, what's the difference? What does the chimp want to do? Eat it, eat it, eat it, yes. You're sitting there and you've had a glass of wine and you go, should I have a second glass? Frontal part of your brain goes, no, be sensible. You want to be healthy for the long term, that's the sensible option. Chimp goes, hell yeah, eat it. Let's do it. Drink it. Do it now. I think our chimps are quite strong, and we haven't quite mastered that part, have we, Dan? Wine is still a beautiful thing.
I might take Jill's advice there. Jill says, step away from the donut. I need to step away from the bottle.
Cool. So when we understand, and for the purpose of this, let's just think of our brain as two parts, old part and new part, or chimp brain, caveman brain, and human part, the thing that you identify as you, the thing that the frontal lobes, the computer that actually makes us who we are. So because of that, your chimp or your caveman has a job, which is to keep you safe. And what that means is we have a comfort zone in life, right? So once we have enough food, we have enough shelter, we have enough water, we have the safety, we create a comfort zone. And the chimp creates the comfort zone, and then he tries to systemize a little bit, and he tries to improve the way things are done. So he builds some habits in, so you don't need to learn how to get dressed every day, right? You'll just go, okay, we'll turn that into habit, we'll turn that into a habit, we'll turn that into a habit. And it's all designed to keep you inside the comfort zone, right? But like we know this, right? Nothing valuable happens within inside the comfort zone. And learning only occurs outside the comfort zone. So imagine, you know, you got your comfort zone, and just outside the comfort zone, there's a slightly uncomfortable zone. And that might be, I don't know, like going to a dinner party where you only know one person, you don't know the rest, so you're like, well, it might be a little bit uncomfortable. And actually stepping into that, even though we still get that feeling of fear, that still might be a little bit uncomfortable. And then beyond that, we have the oh no zone. And beyond that, we have the OF zone. You know, but to be able to progress in life, you know, and live our hopes and dreams, we got to learn how to tame this chimp, because we cannot grow if we're not allowed out of our comfort zone. So first we've got to understand what tools does the chimp use to keep us in our comfort zone, because he's so clever. I mean, he's primitive, but he's so clever, and he's got a ton of tools that he can use to keep us in our comfort zone. So, chimp toolbox. First thing he uses is fear. Okay? So, have you ever heard that little voice in your head where you go, hey, maybe I'll do that new thing? And something pops in and goes, oh yeah, but you know, what if you get that wrong? That's your chimp talking to you. So fear is a major thing that the chimp uses. So let's look at a few of those. Perhaps some of you recognize these. Here are the major, most common fears. The fear of failure, the fear of being irrelevant, the fear of looking different, the fear of abandonment, the fear of rejection, the fear of intimacy, the fear of success, right? Yes, there's a fear of failure, there's also a fear of success. If I become successful, will I not stand out from everyone else? Which may then mean that I'll get abandoned by my friends because I won't fit in anymore. What about the fear of negative judgment, fear of the unknown, or of not feeling good enough, or being personally powerful? What's scary is that we are born with only two fears. Type in the chat box if you know what those two fears are. We are born with only two fears. There are two fears that are given to the chimp so he can help us by, or she can help us by keeping us safe. Because when we're young, of course, we've got to have some rules. We've got to keep safe. So there are two inbuilt fears. What do we think they are? Okay, Charlie's nailed one of them. Cool. Good. A few more. Good. All right. Again, this to me is quite scary, because what these two fears are the only inbuilt fears. Everything else, every other fear we've learned. You weren't born scared of spiders, for example. You learned it. You had an experience at one stage. You made an association about what that experience meant to you, and you created a fear to save you from that feeling in the future, right? So same with like the fear of rejection, for example. You weren't born with it, but maybe one day you didn't get picked for the football team on in the playground at lunchtime, and so you built, and that made you feel sad, so you made an association. You said, oh, well, I don't want to be rejected again, so I won't try and play football anymore. And so you hold that fear. So the two fears that we're built in, that are inbuilt, are the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Those are the only two fears that we are born with. The chimp has them at his disposal to make sure that we don't fall off the end of things, and to make sure that, you know, we are alert to danger. Everything else we've learned. And the chimp, as he builds these fears over time, uses them to keep us in our comfort zone. So let's go back to the chimp toolbox. So we got fear. That's obviously one of them. Actually, type in the chat box for me. What other tools does the chimp use to keep us in our comfort zone? Let's see if you guys can do the work here. You guys can come up with some of these. Think of a time where you wanted to do something new and something stopped you. What was it that stopped you? What did the chimp use to keep you trapped, to keep you in your comfort zone? Let's type in the chat box. Don't worry about getting the right answer, wrong answer. Just the only failure is the failure not to participate. There's no such thing as a stupid answer. This is just about engaging your brain. So let's get a few in there. Good stuff. I like that one, Charlie. It didn't work last time, so it won't work now. Good. Doubt. Love it. Yeah, true. How we tell stories as well. Yeah, good. Yeah, we've got a few coming. Good. Nice, nice, nice. Good. All right, well, I'll go through them. So the next one, limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. So, you know, this comes back to our belief system. If our belief is that we're not good enough, well, you've just fed the chimp. You've just basically given him a lead, so that as you try and walk out of your comfort zone, all he has to do is tug on the lead. Like, you've made it so easy for him, right? Because as soon as you go to leave your comfort zone, chimp's going to be like, this is easy. You're not good enough. You keep saying you believe you're not good enough, so there we go. Let's just bring you back into the comfort zone. The big one for me is having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. If we believe that success is inbuilt, if we believe that it's about talent, and on the flip side we also then believe that we don't have the talent or the luck, then we will just feel like we are not good enough. But if we have a growth mindset, where we realize, look, I can learn anything. I may not be great at everything, but I can learn everything. I can learn stuff that I enjoy. I can get better and better and better. And if I gave myself 10 years just to consistently practice and get better at what I do, whether that's in business, being a better business operator, or whether that's learning golf, like guaranteed, like if you learn golf over 10 years and you focused properly, then you could learn it. There's actually a guy going through it at the moment. He went to 4 independent golf pros who all said he was absolutely rubbish and would never amount to anything. But then he read one of those books that I shared with you, and it said that, well, if you focus on 10,000 hours at anything and you learn and you improve, then you can become a world expert. I don't know where he is now on his challenge, but I think he's about halfway through and he's already playing off scratch. So he just put 5,000 hours worth of training in, even though everyone said he had no talent for golf, and he's already playing off scratch, which is not far, like a semi-professional level. Like, it's unbelievable. Okay, so what else? Hesitation. When we hesitate at something, the chimp's red lights go off and he goes, oh, okay, well, there must be something wrong here, because you didn't hesitate when you put your shoes on this morning. But there was not a problem. But you're hesitating at this, so there must be something wrong here. There must be a fear here. So that's another red light for the chimp. Chimp also uses the spotlight effect, where he magnifies a problem. You ever heard, I think it might be Mark Twain said, I've had many problems in my life, most of which never happened. I've had many problems in my life, most of which never happened. So this spotlight is about overthinking, right? It's saying, well, what if that? What if this? And we build this problem up in our head to be way bigger. Maybe I want to go and present in public for 15 minutes. And as we know, the fear of presenting is huge, right? They say that most people would rather be in the coffin at a funeral than giving the eulogy. That's how bad the fear of public speaking is, because people don't want to be judged. They don't want to fail. They don't want to look silly in front of other people. They don't want to be outcasted. So we stay away from things like that because of the chimp. But going to speak in front of people for 10-15 minutes shouldn't be that bad, but then the chimp puts a spotlight on it and a magnifying glass and goes, oh, but what if this, and turns it into this major problem. So that's another tool that the chimp can use. Willpower. We went through this on one of our first webinars, that just the thought of doing something new is enough to dump dopamine into our body, which actually gives us the high or the feeling of satisfaction without actually having to do the task. So in McDonald's, looking at the salad first, just the thought of having a salad versus having the Big Mac is enough to appease us and make us feel good enough about ourselves, which is why when Big Macs when salads got put onto the menu at McDonald's, sales of Big Macs went up. And the final thing is habit. We've always done it this way, so let's keep doing it. Habit is a non-conscious thing, so on a daily basis, afraid to say it, but you are a robot walking through life most of the time. And because when you do something for more than, say, 3 weeks, your chimp, trying to help you, systemizes and turns it into a habit, which is good because it means you don't have to learn how to drive a car every time you get back into it. But if it's a negative habit, then we just keep doing things the way we've always done. So if you've got bad food habits that you learned growing up, guess what? You're probably going to play out for the rest of your life unless you change it. So the chimp's got a pretty powerful toolbox, and his goal is to keep you in the comfort zone, but in the modern day, is your comfort zone really your comfort zone? See, I think of the comfort zone as an uncomfort zone. Like John Ashraf says there, a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And Maslow, understanding the hierarchy of needs, says in any given moment we have two options: to step forward into growth or step back into safety. So that may seem simple as a theory, but how do we go about stepping into growth and not back into safety, not back into our comfort zone? Well, the way we've got to do it is we've got to learn to train your chimp. Okay, commit to training your chimp. So how can we do that? Here's a few little tips and then we're going to wrap up. So your chimp's there. Just remember, the chimp is trying to help you, but it just doesn't understand that you live in the modern world. He's trying to help you, thinks he's doing you a major favor, famine time, so sees food, he's like, just eat it all, eat it all, eat it all now. We don't know when our next meal is going to come. So first thing I like to do is this: name your chimp. Give that chimp a personality. Give him a persona. Dan, do you have a name for your chimp? I know I call my chimp Bastard Blake, Bastards, because I get annoyed with him at times, but because I now have a persona for him, I can laugh and I can understand that part of me has hopes and dreams and there's another part of me trying to keep me the same. So I really recognize that. What about you, Dan?
I'll be very honest, I don't. He still is Dan, but he's just the evil Dan. He's It's just the evil Dan, basically. So I don't actually have a name other than Dan, but that's how I perceive him.
Yeah, you've got a picture of him then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sure. All right, so type in the chat box if you could name your chimp. If you have a name for your chimp, or you could name it, or you're thinking of a name. Type in the chat box. You know, what might you call your chimp? That's what we can come up with. Keep typing, and I'll come back to those. So first thing, to commit to training your chimp. Name your chimp. Secondly, change. The first step to any change is awareness. Okay, so we just need to be very aware of how our beliefs and how our chimps are playing out in our lives. You know, like they say, same with alcoholism. First step is admitting you have a problem and being aware that there actually is a problem. Only once we are aware can we look at changing it. So be aware. Third part, small steps to start. We saw before the uncomfortable, the comfort zone, and then the slightly uncomfort zone. You know, what I'd suggest is taking small steps out of your comfort zone, because every time you go step out of your comfort zone, it expands the comfort zone. So don't try and step out straight into the OF me zone. Step out into the slightly uncomfortable zone and just do it regularly. 4, make the steps non-permanent. So when we're looking at doing a change like January 1st and we tell our chimp, oh, we're going to go to the gym 3 times a week from now on, chimp goes ape, quite literally. And she's like, that is nonsense. Like, why? No chance, right? That's too much of a change for the chimp. But if we turn around to the chimp and we go, we're going to go to the gym 3 times a week for the next month as an experiment, is that okay? Then we appease the chimp, and the chimp goes, yeah, actually that's okay. We can handle that. If it's just for a month, that's okay, because it's not a permanent change. Then obviously once we get to the end of the month, we're in a position to keep that habit if we want, and then the chimp won't be alarmed by it. We use something called the 4-week challenge that Dan and I are both doing at the moment, where we just create a few little habits that we want to do for the next 4 weeks, and we commit to them for 4 weeks. And obviously once the 4 weeks is up, the change has happened anyway. So we've sort of short-circuited the chimp, or we've, you know, tiptoed around him. And 5th, for those of you who watched the last training, is to create your desire statement. The desire statement is where we get clear on what we want in a year, and we turn it into a story, and we recite it as if it's already happened. So mine would be something like, it is December the 1st and I feel great because over the last year I have I've done the gym work that I've wanted to do, and we managed to build the business to where we want it to be, and so on and so forth. But by actually stating something in the present tense, we get our chimp used to the idea. Remember, the chimp doesn't know the difference between fiction and reality, and we get the chimp used to the idea that it's already happened. So there are a few things to help you to commit to your training your chimp. So, last 2 things. Type in for us what's been the most valuable so far. And I also then want you to type in what's your commitment. What are you going to do to take a little step outside of the comfort zone? What are you going to do to show the chimp your boss? What are some of the couple of things you've done on the 4-week challenge, Dan? What's a couple of the little things that you've committed to impermanently for 4 weeks to appease the chimp, just to build some new habits like in yourself? What are some of the things you've done?
Yeah, well, the first one, which is, I'm already getting into the routine, which has been very nice, which is my 5-minute journal that I do every morning. So the first week, I only started this 4-week challenge the beginning of last week, and there were a couple of days that I didn't do it. I just got not in the routine. I was distracted. The chimp had already got me in my regular habits, and but I've made improvements, and so that was one of them. That's been really good. Another one has been meditation. My challenge was to implement 2 days of meditation per week, and I'm happy to say that I managed to get one of them done already this morning, which was great. So yeah, just by already shifting into week 2, I'm already feeling that yeah, I'm the winner over the chimp, and he's not got the better of me at this stage. So yeah, 4-week challenge, big you know, big fan of it.
Good stuff. All right, cool. So Karen, what are you going to do to step out of your comfort zone? Karen says you're going to step outside of our comfort zone. We've got Charlie as well.
It's actually Chimpali.
Chimpali.
That's his chimp name.
Yeah. Commit to a 4-week challenge. Great. And the biggest thing you got from that was the Chimp's toolkit. Good. So we've got loads of people coming in. Loads of people coming in. Good. 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 Thank you. All right, guys. Look, I realise we've sort of we've got to time. I'd love to read out some more, but we're already at the hour mark, so I don't want to go on any longer. So please just remember, a person who never made a mistake, never tried anything new. I like to quote Einstein because it makes me sound way smarter than I actually am, but you know, there's wisdom in the past, and I think let's learn from what we're currently learning about psychotherapy and what we're actually learning about success, and to understand that actually it starts at a very, very deep level. So be aware of the beliefs that are creating the life that you have, and learn how to train the chimp. So from me, I'll say goodbye, and from Dan?
Yep, goodbye from me. Thank you very much. Nice to see everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, bye guys.
Bye-bye.